Very good evening, you all. Welcome back to CUET PG Malviya Academy. I hope you all are doing great. How are you, students? How is your preparation going on? Make sure I'm audible and visible both to you. Hello, Aman. Hi, good evening, Anjali. Good evening, Sabana. Good evening, you all. So we are meeting after so long, right? Your classes were scheduled yesterday and day before yesterday, but I couldn't be able to take your class because there's an infection in my throat, in my larynx. That is why I couldn't be able to take your class yesterday and day before yesterday as well. And I'm still on medication, I'm still taking medicines, but hopefully I'll recover soon. Okay, so I am here. Very good evening, Ria, Anjali, Sabana. As you all know, Malviya Academy has launched a crash course, and the regular class of crash course will begin from 2nd of January. So make sure that you all have enrolled in that course because time is limited, and I will provide you very factual concepts, exam oriented facts, exam oriented materials which will certainly help you to score more in your examination, in your upcoming exam of CUET MA English. So make sure that you all are get enrolled in that particular batch which will start from 2nd of January 2026, and offer is going on in that particular batch. As you all know, offer was there from 25th, from 22nd of December to 26th of December. But there's a new offer came. Malviya Academy launched a new offer for the on the occasion of New Year, and I hope you all have knowledge for that. So you can get 500 off in each and every course which are designed by Malviya Academy. Okay, I hope I'm audible and visible both to you. If you want to prepare for CUET MA English, so I will be guide there. I will guide you for your upcoming exam in 60 days. I will already make a video of my study planner which is already uploaded on YouTube. If you have not visited that video yet, if you have not watched that video yet, you can go to that particular video, you can watch that particular video, and you can have knowledge about the upcoming batch that is known as Ujjwal batch, which will begin from 2nd of January. So Sabana, I hope you have knowledge of this as well. You can also share with your friends among your groups so that other aspirants of CUET MA English also will get benefited. Is it all right? And there's a special offer for our Umang batch students. They can get on. Okay, Aryan. They can get the batch only on 749. So this offer is only limited to our regular students who are the students of our Umang batch. Okay. And for other students, offer is still going on. You can purchase the course, and upcoming 60 days are very crucial for your preparation. You should be very consistent. You should be self-disciplined. You should be very honest to yourself. क्योंकि अब ये कहने से काम बिल्कुल नहीं चलेगा कि जनवरी में पढ़ाई शुरू करेंगे और मार्च में जो एग्जाम होगा उसमें हम ड्रीम यूनिवर्सिटी ले लेंगे. ऐसा बिल्कुल होने वाला नहीं है, क्योंकि इंग्लिश लिटरेचर का जो सिलेबस है वो बहुत वाइड है, बहुत थॉरो है. यू ऑल नो आई हैव ऑलवेज ऑल्सो मेड अ वीडियो ऑन explaining the detailed units of your syllabus. If you have not watched that video yet, you can also check that video. Okay, you can also check that study planner video, and probably you all have the knowledge of the syllabus, but few students are still there. Few students are still like whoever don't have the idea about their syllabus for the exam for which they are preparing for. So that video will certainly help you all, and the upcoming batch, Ujjwal batch, will help you all in every manner to score more in your exam, to boost your confidence, and to make you self-disciplined. Okay, so I hope you all have visited the website. If you have not visited, you should visit it. You should visit. Anyway, in the last class, I have started a new unit of your syllabus, that is literary criticism. And you all know literary criticism and literary theory. Both of these units are extremely important for your exams perspective. In literary criticism, you have to study classical critiques and English critics, modern critics. First of all, we have discussed classical critics like Greek masters, Plato and Aristotle. We also have discussed romance, okay, romantic critics like Longinus, Horace, Quintilian and Longinus, who has given the concept of sublimity. Can you tell me how many elements Longinus has described in his particular book on the sublime? How many elements he has given? All right, very good. Grandeur of thoughts, novel diction, dignified composition, strong emotion, figure of speech. These are important thoughts. These are important elements which is given by Longinus in the book entitled On the Sublime. So, all right, we have discussed literary criticism, and you all know literary criticism is a way of evaluation of the work of art. It is the way of interpreting the literature. It is the way of evaluating the text. And there are certain literary critiques whose ideas are being provided, whose ideas are being applicated to the particular text. We apply the particular idea, those ideas are applicable, we apply the certain idea of the certain literary critique, and then we evaluate the work of art, whether it is good or not. And in the case of literary critique, you all know a critique is an ideal reader. For a critique, no any work of art is good or bad, no any piece of literature is meaningful or meaningless. So literary criticism is actually the evaluation It is the evaluation or you can say interpretation of work of art in literature. Okay, and a critique is an ideal reader for whom no any work of art, no any piece of literature is good or no any piece of literature is bad. So a critique can be regarded as a versatile reader, a voracious reader. All right, and that is really very important to know the critical work. Hello Adarsh. Adarsh, you can call to this helpline number, okay, and there you can buy the course. Offer is going on. All right, you can call to the official number, helpline number. You can put your query and then you can get enrollment for the upcoming batch of CUET MA English. Is it all right, Adarsh? All right, I was discussing literary criticism. So in wholesome, in easy words, you should remember literary criticism is an evaluation of the work of art in literature. It is the interpretation of the text. We apply certain ideas of the critique and then we judge the particular work of art. For example, starting from the classical critique, for example, Plato had stated that poetry or any artistic creation is twice or thrice removed from the reality. So we apply the idea of Plato, we apply this particular idea to the particular art to check whether the particular poetry is away from reality or not. If we are following the idea of Plato, so on the basis of that idea we can validate the poetry that yes, it is the away from reality, it is not the portrayal of the reality, it is twice or thrice removed from the reality. At the same time, if we apply the particular notion of William Wordsworth, where Wordsworth has stated that poetry is the spontaneous overflow of the powerful emotion. So this idea, this particular validation, this particular notion of Wordsworth about poetry, we apply to the particular art. Whether you can find the serious, spontaneous overflow of the powerful emotion or not. So this is what difference you can find between literary criticism and literary theory. In literary criticism, you have certain ideas, you have certain notions, you have some validated ideas which you can apply to interpret the particular text or any piece of literature. But in theory, you can be critic. You yourself can be a critic in the way that literary theories are different perspectives or different lenses which you can apply to interpret a particular work of art in different frameworks. From the lens of feministic literature, feministic theory, from the lens of structuralism, post-structuralism, colonialism, Marxism, eco-criticism, and there are many literary theories. Alright, so this is the basic difference between literary criticism and theory. I hope you got my point. Is this basic point clear to you all? Are you able to differentiate between criticism and theory? Are you able to understand what literary criticism is and what a critique is? Is this clear? In the upcoming classes, I will teach you literary theory. Is this clear or not? Any question? Great. So in literary criticism, we already have discussed our classical criticism, our classical critiques. And when we say classical critiques, we mean to say that their writings were limited to certain rules, orders, structures. They have followed certain writing style in their critical writings. All right, we already have discussed Greek critiques. And in Greek critics, we have mainly Plato and Aristotle. You all have seen Plato's The Republic is very, very remarkable work, very famous work. Which was written into 10 books. And आपके एग्जाम में CUET MA इंग्लिश एग्जाम में ये डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन आया हुआ है कि रिपब्लिक को कितने बुक्स में प्लेटो ने लिखा था. So you must remember it was written into 10 books. Aristotle's Poetics is very important. Can you tell me in how many chapters Poetics was written? In how many chapters Poetics was written? In how many chapters Poetics was written? 26 chapters. All right. So we already have discussed the idea of Plato and Aristotle both, that how Plato has given the idea of imitation, theory of imitation, theory of mimesis, which is also known as theory of imitation. Because Plato was a great moralist, he was a great philosopher and political thinker. He was also a great critic. According to Plato, poetry or any artistic creation should not be away with reality. These artistic creations, or in a special context to poetry, should portray the real issues of the society, reality of the society. And he has developed the idea of the theory of mimesis, which is a Greek word which means imitation, to copy from others. That is why Plato has made very significant statement that poetry is imitation of an imitation. And this particular line was asked in your examination, which particular critique has stated that poetry is imitation of an imitation. You must remember the name of the critic, Plato. He also states that poetry is twice or thrice removed from the reality. Okay. Then Aristotle came and he somehow, in some contexts you can say, he agrees with the idea of Plato that yes, poetry is imitation, but he brought the element of universality. He discussed the universal nature of the poetry, and that is very important. Aristotle has discussed the universality of the poetry, and this particular point, this particular element was asked in the examination, that which particular literary critique has discussed about the universal nature of the poetry. You must keep in your mind about the name Aristotle. And Aristotle also in some context agrees with the idea of Plato, but Aristotle says that poetry is superior than history because poetry shows universal nature. A poet can relate what may happen, but a historian student can relate what already has happened. And that is why poetry is more important discipline. It is the superior discipline than history or other subjects. I hope both of these Greek philosophers, Greek critiques and their ideas are clear to your mind. Do you have any question regarding Plato and Aristotle? Any question? Do you want to ask any question? If you have any question, then ask me. Okay. Then we move to know about romances, okay? And in romances, in romantic critiques, we got to know about Horace, Quintilian. Then we got to know Longinus, who has written on the sublime. Very important critical work by Longinus. And Horace has written Ars Poetica. I hope these works are clear to you. Horace, see, in the context of Aristotle and Plato, we discussed that Plato had more focus. Plato was more concerned with the instruction of the poetry, instructive quality of the poetry, whereas Aristotle was more concerned on the delightment of the poetry. Delightment should be an important element in poetry, what Aristotle has stated. And Plato has stated about instruction. According to Plato, instructive element should be there in poetry. Poetry should instruct us. But Aristotle has stated that poetry should delight us because that delightment should be instructive in nature. Here is a romantic critic, Horace, who stated that both should be there in poetry. And Horace's idea is also associated with the idea of Philip Sidney, who also agrees with the statement that the purpose of poetry should be both instruction and delightment. Both का मतलब है it should be instructive. Poetry should be instructive as well as it should be delightening. Is it clear? और आपके CUET में इंग्लिश एग्जाम में ये क्वेश्चन आया है, according to which literary critique the function of poetry should be both instruction and delightment, both. So your answer should be Horace and Philip Sidney, both. Is my point clear? Is this clear? Horace has written very important book which is entitled as Ars Poetica. That's very important. And other important critique is Horace and Philip Sidney's idea is clear. Students, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Any question? Okay, great. So when we discuss on the sublime, then you should understand important structures. What are important elements? As already I have discussed, which already I have asked you, that grandeur of thought should be there. Thought, diction, composition. Okay, then you should also focus on figure of speech. And then you should also focus on the vivid portrayal of the passion. All right, whether you are finding passion or not in the poetry. These are important elements discussed by Longinus in his critical book entitled On the Sublime. So these are important facts. All these critiques and their ideas, their major works, we already have discussed, and now we are entering in English criticism, where we will be studying, where we will be going, where we will come to know about the work of Philip Sidney. You all know Philip Sidney belongs to Elizabethan period. And from Elizabethan age, criticism began in England. Critical works written in the fashion in that particular manner. Can you tell me which is the first critique or first person who has written the work The Frog, and whose ideas is being considered as the first critique of English literature? Who is the author of the writing The Frog? Tell me who has written the work The Frog. Very good, Ria. Aristophanes. Aristophanes has written The Frog, and this question was asked in सेट एग्जाम। तो यहाँ तक आप सभी को क्लियर हुआ। शुड आई स्टार्ट इंग्लिश क्रिटिसिज्म? क्लासिकल क्रिटिसिज्म सबको क्लियर है? Now we are about to enter in English criticism. Any question? Any confusion? If you have any confusion, you can ask me. I am giving you time. Any question? Any confusion? अभी तक जो भी हमने पढ़ा था, I just tried to brief whatever I have taught you. All right. You have any question? Do you have any doubts, student? Should I start English criticism? All right. So let's start English criticism. All right. Let's discuss about Philip Sidney's work, very important work. And classical criticism and English criticism, both of these portions are necessary. ठीक है? Both of these you should knowledge about all those critics who are from classical criticism. You should also knowledge about those critics who belong to English criticism. All right. Let's start English criticism, where we will get to know about Philip Sidney, who belongs to Elizabethan period. And Philip Sidney is considered as an important critique. By the way, I forgot to mention here Aristotle's important literary terms. You all know Aristotle has focused more in tragedy. All right, he has focused more in tragedy. So, do you have any knowledge, any idea about those literary terms like hamartia, peripatia, anagnorisis, and other literary terms? Do you have idea about those literary terms? Tell me about other important literary terms, important idea given by Aristotle, which can be asked in your upcoming exam, क्योंकि ये सारे terms बहुत important है. Yes, hamartia, catharsis, peripatia. These are important literary terms given by Aristotle, and I hope you all are clear about these terms. What do you mean by hamartia? What is hamartia? As you know, catharsis means purgation or purification. All of these terms should be very clear in your mind, क्योंकि आपके CUET PG English exam में questions कई बार इन सारे terms से पूछे गए हैं. Catharsis का मतलब होता है purification, or it is known as purgation. Hamartia is, it is a tragic flaw, it is an error, okay? It is considered as an error in particular, as you know, Aristotle has mainly focused on tragedy. For Aristotle, tragedy is the best form of poetry. So it is related to the error of the protagonist. It is tragic flaw. And what is peripatia? What do you understand by this term? Peripatia, it is a reversal of fortune. And anagnorisis is the recognition. So all these terms should be there in your mind. All these terms are extremely important for your upcoming exam. You should also remember the structure of the play. How many elements Aristotle has given in the structure of the play. You should also remember those important elements. All right. Okay. So I was discussing Philip Sidney. I was about to discuss Philip Sidney English criticism. That's really important. I hope आपको यहाँ तक समझ में आ गया है. You don't have any question? Okay, he has given 6 elements, all right. Plot, which is also known as mythos. Character, which is known as ethos, okay. Plot, character, spectacle, song, diction. These are important elements given by Aristotle, all right. And melody is also important. So yes, I'm here. I'm about to discuss English criticism, and in English criticism, it starts from Elizabethan writing, because in Old English, period and Middle English period, in Anglo-Saxon period and Anglo-Norman period, you have seen that no any good kind of literature was written. No any good kind of writings you can see in Old English period and Middle English period both. From Elizabethan period, drama flourished, prose flourished and poetry also flourished, and that is why this particular age is regarded as the golden period of English literature. You also have seen that Queen Elizabeth, which came to the throne in the year 1558, she herself was the promoter of the art and literature. She herself encouraged playwrights, writers and poets who writes at that point of time. So Philip Sidney, very important critic and poet of Elizabethan period, and from Philip Sidney आपके एग्जाम में questions हर बार पूछे जाते हैं. You must remember the time span of Philip Sidney. He belongs to the Elizabethan period. He was born in the year 1554 and died in the year 1586. He may be regarded as the first dramatic critic, because in Old English period and Middle English period you have not seen any critic who has written any critical work. And as I already have stated, the romances or romantic critique like Horace, according to Horace, the purpose of poetry, the eventual purpose of poetry should be instruction and delightment both. As you know, Plato focused more on instructive nature of the poetry, whereas Aristotle focused more on the delighting, that entertaining factors, or you can say delightment, the particular element you can find in Aristotle's notion that universality should be there, delightment should be there, and that delightment should be instructive in nature. But Horace has stated that both delightment and instruction both are important. Sidney also agrees with the idea of Horace, and he has written very popular critical work entitled The Defense of Poesy, which was published by William Ponsonby, and it is also known as an apology for poetry. Firstly, it appeared as The Defense of Poesy. It was revised and republished as An Apology for Poetry, and this particular work of Philip Sidney is regarded as the important contribution of literary criticism. It is an important contribution of Sidney in literary criticism. तो आपको अपने एग्जाम के पर्सपेक्टिव से ये दोनों वर्क याद रख, ये जो टाइटल है, दोनों टाइटल याद रखने की जरूरत है. द डिफेंस ऑफ पोएजी और एपॉलजी फॉर पोएट, एन एपॉलजी फॉर पोएट्री. Okay, both of these terms are important. Hello Sakshi, good evening. Okay, so The Defense of Poesy or An Apology for Poetry by Sidney brings together romanticism and classicism. As you all know, there are two prevalent ideas in literature: romanticism and classicism. Romanticism, this particular idea is guided by your heart, and classicism, this notion is guided by your mind, the logic, okay, intellect, thought, reason, order, structure, rules. All these elements you can find in classical notion, in classicism. But free words, emotion, spontaneous flow of emotion, these things you can find in romantic ideas. I hope it's clear. Is my point clear? समझ में आ रहा है आप लोगों को? That's great. Okay. Next important point related to Sidney, you should remember, Sidney represents contemporary trend on the nature and function of poetry on the 3 units, and these units are important. He has focused on tragedy, comedy and diction and meter. For example, you have seen Aristotle has focused on tragedy, Plato has focused on poetry, Sidney has focused on 3 units like tragedy, comedy, and diction and meter. The defense of poesy was written. Now, very important point you must remember. This particular fact was asked for several times in your examination. The question you must have find if you have gone through previous year papers, that who, first question you can find, that is, who has written the defense of poesy or an apology for poetry. Second question, for whom or in reply to whom Sidney has written a defense of poesy, the defense of poesy or an apology for poetry. As you all know, Sidney has written the defense of poesy in reply to Stephen Guzzon's work entitled School of Abuse, who described works of literature as work of the devil. Stephen Guzzon, a critic and author who made charges on the poetry and the works of literature. He stated that works of literature are treated as the devil of literature. Okay, devil. Okay, work of literature or literary works are considered as devils. Poetry is actually mother of lies. He has made charges like poetry is the waste of time, poetry is the mother of lies, poetry is nurse of abuse, and Plato had rightly banished poets from his ideal works. These are important charges made by Stephen Guzzon in his work A School of Abuse, and in the reply of this particular work and this particular writer, Philip Sidney has written his work an apology for poetry, which is also known as the defense of poesy. आपको ये line, ये particular facts याद रहेंगे? Is this clear? समझ में आया आप लोगों को? Is this clear? Will you remember this? Sabana, did you purchase the course, crash course? I hope you are not a regular student. Why are you get enrolled somewhere else? Because I have seen you always in my YouTube class. And these upcoming 60 days are extremely important. As you all know that your consistency, your continuity and your hard work will certainly pay off, right? So these 60 days are extremely crucial for each one of you, whoever are preparing for the upcoming exam. And that is how you will get the dream university. If you will work hard, if you will be honest to your preparation, if you will be continued till your exam, you will certainly get the positive result. You will certainly get into your dream university. So consider the continuity, consider the hard work, consider the consistency, because price doesn't matter. Your effort matters, your dream matters, and your continuity matters. I hope you got my point. Okay. You also remember very popular statement made by Sidney that Sidney offers a definition of poetry. He regarded poet as a maker or creator. He states that a poet is the maker or creator and poetry is the art of representation. और आपके एग्जाम में डायरेक्ट यहाँ से क्वेश्चन पूछा गया है, according to which literary critique the poet is considered as a maker or creator, or poetry is considered as the art of representation. Okay, तो आपको याद रखना है poet is a maker in the words of Philip Sidney. Okay, Sidney has stated about poet that poet can be considered as a maker or creator of the particular text of the art. he classified different categories of poetry and adds that meter is not necessary for poetry. He proves poetry. He regarded poetry superior as a superior discipline than history and philosophy. He discusses different genres of poetry like pastorals, elegy, iambic, satiric, comic, tragic, lyric, and heroic. These are different genre, these are different types of poetry. You can remember, this can be asked in your examination. Very important notion regarding Sidney you should remember. Sidney has written a very important critical work entitled The Defense of Poetry, which has also other title as an apology for poetry, in reply to Stephen Guzon's work as School of Abuse, where Guzon has made different charges on poetry by saying that poetry is a mother of lies. Alright, then you should remember Sidney regarded poetry as a superior discipline than philosophy and history, and he also states about poet and poetry that poet is the maker or creator and poetry is the representation of the art. These are important ideas you should remember. You must keep in your mind and notes as well regarding Sidney. Is this clear? समझ में आया आपको? फिलिप सिडनी समझ में आए? Is Philip Sidney clear to you? Any question? If you have any question, you can ask me. If you have any question, you can ask me. Since I am suffering from the throat infection, so I cannot continue for long. I cannot take your classes for long hours. So I'm ending this session now, and I'll meet you tomorrow, or most probably day after tomorrow, where I'll be completing literary criticism, because now I'm getting pain in my throat. I have also taken class on app, and now I'm here for 1 hour. So I hope you will get my point. And as you know, so far we have discussed Greek masters, we have discussed Plato and Aristotle, we also have discussed Horace, Quintilian and Longinus and their important works. We have discussed English critique, Elizabethan critique like Philip Sidney, who has written an apology for poetry or the defense of poetry, in the reply to Stephen Guzon's work School of Abuse. And Philip Sidney has made very popular statement that a poet is creator or maker and poetry is the art of representation. And in the upcoming class, we will get to know, if you allow me, do you want to know more about English criticism, 18th century classical criticism today or in the upcoming class? Since there's pain in my throat, so I won't be able to continue this session. I'll meet you tomorrow, and there I will teach you 18th century critical writings. We will get to know John Dryden, we will get to know Alexander Pope, and also we will get to know Samuel Johnson. All right, we will study the triumph of classicism in the upcoming class. Then we will move to know about romantic critics and their works. And then we will be knowing modern critics like T.S. Eliot, okay, and other critics. Then we will be studying literary theory. Okay, thank you so much, students. Thank you so much for your cooperation and thank you so much for understanding me. We'll see you again. We'll see you tomorrow or day after tomorrow. All right? Okay. Thank you, you all. Please take care of yourself and please keep revising. ठीक है? All right, बच्चे. Take care and keep revising all those notes. We'll see you soon.